I know the crowd's going to be for her, so I'm going to try to block that out and just focus on myself.
You might be able to hear all of us cheering from this side of the border for you. Mississauga's very own Bianca Andreescu prepares to face off against tennis legend Serena Williams again, this time for the U.S. Open title. Oh, she made history last night. The 19-year-old fought her way into the U.S. Open final. Greg Ross is in New York, where all the action is taking place. And Greg, tennis fans getting ready for a big day tomorrow.
Yeah, and so are some tennis players, including Bianca Andreescu, who's getting set for the biggest match of her life. But it's not just Serena Williams that's on her mind. This story is just taking off in Canada. And even though Andreescu is hundreds of kilometers away, thanks to social media, she's been able to keep tabs on all of it. One day later, and the magnitude of her accomplishments are just starting to sink in. I think I heard you say wow about 500 times yesterday. I mean, has it sunk in yet?
A little bit. It's nice to have that day in between because I can actually go to sleep, actually knowing that I'm in the finals.
Like most 19-year-olds, Andreescu is very active on social media, and the fact that she's now trending has not been lost on her. Did you see the hashtag on some of those social media posts?
She the North?
That's the one. What do you think of it?
That's so crazy. I mean, I honestly don't know what to say. It's just awesome.
She's even gotten some shout-outs from other prominent athletes like Canadian Steve Nash and tennis legend Billie Jean King.
It's really nice to have all that support because I think it gives me even more motivation to do better.
Andreescu is also inspiring the next generation of young Canadian tennis players.
Everyone's just so excited, and we all want Bianca to win.
Melody Collard is in Flushing Meadows, competing for Canada in the U.S. Open Junior Championship.
I went to see her match on center court last day, and it was like really nice. She's doing awesome, and it's really like good for me to see what she's doing on the big court while I'm just like beside trying to do my best in the junior level, and I know that's what I want to do. So yeah, I'm really happy for her, and I hope she wins.
They're looking up to you as somebody they want to be.
That's really nice to hear. It's been my goal for a really long time to be able to be an inspiration for many.
Andreescu's popularity will only grow if she can win tomorrow, but she will have her work cut out for her as she faces 23-time Grand Slam champion Serena Williams in a rematch of last month's Rogers Cup final. How do you do it? How do you stay composed?
Well, I'm just gonna go into it. We'll try my best to go into it like every other match this tournament. I got a sense of how she plays a little bit in Toronto. I mean, it was very short-lived, 4 games, but I know how I'm going to feel before the match and even during. Obviously, different circumstances and a different environment. I know the crowd's going to be for her, so I'm going to try to block that out and just focus on myself.
Tomorrow's final should be a physical test for Andreescu facing Serena Williams, who looks like she's at the top of her game right now, but it should also be a mental test for her as well. Let's face it, the crowd here is going to be a very pro Serena Williams crowd here at Arthur Ashe Stadium. And as we've seen here in the past at the U.S. Open, this is a crowd that can be very loud, they can be very boisterous, and they can be very rowdy as well, Dwight.
It's going to be a great match. Go Bianca. Thank you for that, Greg. One of the most highly anticipated movies set to play at TIFF this year is premiering right now. It's brought huge stars like Michael B. Jordan, Jamie Foxx, and Brie Larson to our city. Tashana Reid is at Roy Thompson Hall. Tashana, how was the red carpet?
What is that? Hey Dwight, I'm here at Roy Thompson Hall, and of course this is one of the big carpets everyone has been waiting for. This was the red carpet for Just Mercy. Now we just had a chance to see the star-studded cast walk their way past. Now they've gone inside the theater to check out the screening, but we had Michael B. Jordan here, we had Jamie Foxx, as well as Brie Larson make their way down this red carpet. And this is a film that many of the actors are describing as so timely for right now. It's the story of Michael B. Jordan, who is a Harvard law graduate, and he decides to do something different with his career than going to a big law firm. He decides to head south to Alabama, and he wants to work with wrongfully convicted inmates on death row. And that's where he meets Jamie Foxx's character. And I had a chance to speak with him today. It was a busy, busy red carpet, but he made time to come back for us. And I asked him why this story was so important to hear now. Take a listen to more on what he had to say.
I wanted the weight. I wanted the responsibility to tell this story because it's so important. You know, he's so important. And as many people I want to get as many people as possible to see this movie, because I really feel like that's going to really have the effect on that you really need to really like change your heart and change your minds about how they view certain things, how they view one another. You know, I think we all need to understand each other a little bit more, and I think this movie brings us closer to each other. So.
And you know, Dwight, what's remarkable about this story is it's based on the real life of Brian Stevenson. He's a civil rights attorney from the U.S., and he actually walked this red carpet a little bit earlier, and that is the character that Michael B. Jordan takes on in this film, and he is, of course, helping Jamie Foxx, who is this inmate. And this is a true story based on something that had happened in his career early on as he decided to start his career down the civil rights path. And, you know, it was amazing to hear from him, and he said it's just remarkable to have someone like Michael B. Jordan telling your story on the big screen, and of course seeing Jamie Foxx. So a lot of excitement here, and of course we're expecting to hear a lot about this come award show season, because there's a lot of buzz about the performances in this film. Dwight?
Yeah, I read the book. I am so forward looking to see this film. Thank you for that, Tashana.
This is No Bike Shop. This is where Toronto police store recovered stolen bikes. I'm Talia Ricci, and coming up, after another video of a brazen daylight bike theft went viral, Toronto police give us some tips on how to avoid having your bike end up here.
When we find these bikes, oftentimes we can't find the owner.
Atlantic Canada is bracing for the worst as parts of the eastern seaboard remain under a hurricane warning as Dorian churns northeast along the U.S. coast. In North Carolina, hundreds of people have been trapped in low-lying areas.
Flash flood emergencies have been issued for Dare and Hyde counties, and officials are telling people to get to the highest point in their houses.
200,000 homes have lost power, many roads are flooded, and it's still raining as Dorian heads north over the state. Some are calling it the worst flooding ever. While in the Bahamas, at least 30 people are now confirmed dead after Dorian ripped through the island nation earlier this week. But officials warn that number could rise. Hundreds still remain missing as rescue workers search through widespread wreckage.
We also saw a lot of traumatic injuries to the head by flying debris. People were crushed by cars, by buildings, multiple fractures to legs, any limbs, anything. It was bad.
Emergency crews are digging through collapsed neighborhoods looking for victims, and agencies are delivering water and supplies to the hardest hit areas. An estimated 80,000 people need help. The Category 5 hurricane is the worst storm on record to hit the Bahamas. And in the worst hit parts, many residents have lost everything. Here's some of what they had to say in their own words.
I don't wish on nobody. Nobody words can't describe it. They could never categorize this.
My house, and understand, I'm not here, it is flat to the ground. Like my house is gone, I lost everything. The only thing I guess what I have on now.
We're still seeing a lot of injuries that happened as a result of the strong winds during the hurricane. There are a lot of people that haven't made it to the hospital yet. Any kind of like a disease that might be starting to happen as a result of people not having access to water and sanitation. That's not something we're observing right now, but that's something we will monitor for.
We need ice.
We don't have no power. We need generators and stuff.
We need generators. We get some generators for people.
We just need a lot of help.
We've been trying for 3 days now and can't get out. There's no more life here. Nothing.
And Nick, as we looked at that devastation, I heard one meteorologist explain it that it looked like the storm fell asleep over the Bahamas and just stood there and churned and churned and churned for hours on end.
It did. You know, when it was over the Bahamas, I was doing the show here in Toronto, and I remember when that update came up, it tells you what the storm motion is, the speed and the direction, and it said stationary. And it sat there for about a day and a half stationary, or more or less stationary. And so you've got the storm surge, you've got the rain, you've got the winds, and everything that just hammered this these isolated islands, really. I mean, it was just totally devastating. And now we're changing our focus to watch this storm as it moves up the East Coast, and it will be affecting Atlantic Canada as we move through tomorrow. So a big story with this, all the way down from the Caribbean right up into Canada as well. And of course, we're going to continue to monitor that here, but also on CBC News Network. For us in the GTA, we're not being affected by this weather. In fact, we're actually in the clear by quite a ways. What we're looking at is really some pretty calm conditions. We had a bit of rain earlier today. Cooler temperatures, though. Right now we're sitting at 17 degrees. The rain showers basically having pushed out of the city, except if you live to the far east end of the GTA. Bigger picture in behind it, just a bit of cloud cover, but that's really about it. Tomorrow, the risk for a few spotty showers, but for the most part, we're done with the wet weather, at least for the next 4 or 5 days or so. Tonight, 14 degrees, some mist and fog. Tomorrow, 22 degrees as a high. But cooler temperatures are on the way, below seasonal temperatures. Your full forecast coming up in just a bit. Dwight.
Thank you, Nick.
You bet.
It took just seconds for a man to steal a bicycle on a busy downtown street recently. The incident caught on camera by a passing cab driver. And as Talia Ritchie tells us, it's generating a conversation on social media about bike theft and how to keep yourself from becoming a victim.
Sparks flying, sun shining, people walking. None of that mattered to this bold bike thief who got away with Ben James's bicycle.
I thought it was pretty safe being here in the financial district, and I was really blown away that someone would have the balls, if you will, to come down and steal it.
It's been viewed thousands of times on social media.
Everyone's had that bike stolen or something stolen from them, and to actually see how it happens and how it goes down, and in a spot like this, I think everyone can, just kind of relates to it.
And I was in my window roll down half through.
The video was shot through the window of Mo Khan's cab.
It's so fascinating that he took total 20 seconds to done this job.
Khan admits he was a little shaken when the man started yelling at him, but he once had his bike stolen too and hoped the evidence would result in justice.
I never thought actually in that level that somebody will have a portable grinder to cut a lock without any fear of broad daylight.
This is where many recovered stolen bikes are stored. They're kept here for 37 days and then they end up at police auctions. Police say that registering your bike on their website and keeping record of its serial number does help them in the process of returning stolen bikes to their owners.
My initial thoughts were, here we go again, and so what my job is to get that video, try and get it to an investigator and marry it up with a report.
According to Toronto police data, from 2014 to 2018, there have been close to 18,000 reports of bike theft, with numbers rising each year. Very few are recovered, but Mills insists that a lot of time and resources are dedicated to getting stolen bikes back.
If you see somebody stealing a bike like that, it's great to have a video, don't get me wrong, but call 911 before you start taking a video. And if you are going to take a video, do it safely. We do care, we do take it seriously.
As for James, he's filed a police report and will now be relying on TTC to get to work. Talia Ritchie, CBC News, Toronto.
Half of it's in the bag still, so.
Well, this is new. York Regional Police have charged 2 drivers in one vehicle with impaired driving.
Not right now, no. Literally, like I'm sitting there in the back, she jumped on top of me. And then what? And then she drove off. With you still in the driver's seat? And her on top of me.
It happened on Wednesday morning in Vaughan near Bathurst and Centre Street. Police say a 31-year-old man and a 26-year-old woman were both sitting in the driver's seat when they hit a pole on Franklin Avenue before driving further down the road. Police found the pair with 2 open cans of beer. They have both been charged with impaired driving and dangerous operation of a motor vehicle. A man is dead and the SIU is investigating after an early morning incident in Mississauga.
Understanding what transpired between the men and the officers is what the SIU is investigating.
The Special Investigations Unit says police were called to the overpass at Derry and the 410 early this morning for reports of a man acting strangely. Investigators say when officers arrived and exited their cruisers, the man fell to the highway below. The 27-year-old was pronounced dead at the scene. It's being called a historic change. Toronto Police could soon start collecting race-based data. City Hall reporter Lauren Pelly has the latest on why some say doing this is crucial to combating racism.
In 2011, 4 black teenagers were arrested at gunpoint outside a Lawrence Heights public housing complex. The case made headlines when 2 police officers were accused of misconduct. Security footage showed one officer punching a teenage boy in his stomach and head. 45-year-old Andrew Loku was shot and killed by Toronto police 4 years later after officers found him holding a hammer.
I think we all share that pain when, folks from our community are treated in that way.
Paul Bailey will never forget his first encounters with police.
I grew up, being stopped numerous times by police, and if that experience isn't captured anywhere where, we can track it and understand it, when communities anecdotally saying that, we're often not believed.
He's among those hopeful a new policy drafted by the Toronto Police Board could shed more light on racism within the force. It calls for officers to collect and report race-based data on people they interact with in use of force situations, starting within the next few months. The board says the policy is vital to improving transparency and accountability.
Toronto Police collecting this type of race-based data was a key recommendation from the Ontario Human Rights Commission. Last year, the Commission released a sweeping report on race and policing. It showed black people are far more likely to be involved in multiple types of violent encounters with police.
So for us, this would be a historic moment. If the board passes this policy, it would make the Toronto Police a national leader.
And Police Chief Mark Saunders would be tasked with putting it into practice. His officers, according to the policy, would initially document their own observations of someone's race. The goal would be to later incorporate self-reporting from people who interact with police. That phased-in approach is now prompting concerns over how data could be used or manipulated. Bailey also questions if the policy will include more training and accountability for officers.
In addition to data collection, there are a number of other pieces like overhauling professional standards that needs to accompany this in order for this data and other things to be effective.
The board is reviewing the draft policy at its next meeting on September 19th. It could be in place by January 1st. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
Eastwood, Stiller here with Clooney, Oprah, Kidman, Angelina Jolie. Not sure who that guy is with her though. Coming up, I have an interview with the person responsible for bringing all these stars to town, Joanna Vicent, the new co-head and executive director of TIFF.
The weather update is brought to you by Train Extreme Conditions Testing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Oscar-nominated producer Joanna Vicente has a new role this TIFF. She's usually here as a film executive, but now she's running the show. I spoke to her today about what's it like being TIFF's new executive director. You've had 12 films in the festival before, but now you've kind of flipped the script on us. You're not here shopping and selling your film. You're here running things. What's it like being like on the other side of that?
It's a very different experience. So yesterday I was in the green room with Robbie Robertson and Martin Scorsese.
Stop showing off. Yes, that's very cool.
So I'm like, you know, step and repeat photos, doing the intro. Roy Thompson Hall, 1,800 people.
With no worry
Crazy.
about selling a film, you're just having fun, watching things go well.
Just really enjoying every moment. And then we have this incredible, amazing team. And this festival really runs so well. I think while, you know, before I was here, I always considered Toronto one of the best festivals, most well organized in the world. So I feel like we have a fabulous team. Which I don't need to be worried or anxious about things. It's more like, are we doing our best, kind of motivating people and making sure that industry, filmmakers, and press are happy and doing the most of it.
Festival.
Exactly.
We were looking at all these blockbuster big stars on the wall behind us, but you've been over the years, you've been a champion of indie films and independent filmmakers, and that's part of the focus that this festival is trying to push now too, right? To help those independent filmmakers coming up.
Yeah, I think the festival does a really good job at balancing both the big Hollywood films that are still incredibly
The audience are here, they want to see the red carpets.
Films. The audience want to see the talent, but also those discovery films, the filmmakers of tomorrow. So I think there's a great balance, and there's all kinds of films from horror to comedy to drama. So, you know, I think the audiences of Toronto can pick what they're like.
Well, I got to ask you that because you said there's all kinds of films. I think there's like 300. You're an insider. Any suggestions for us? Maybe what you like? Maybe some things we should check out? Do you have any favorites going in?
So I'm so excited this year with all of the amazing films that have been directed by women. So
yes,
I'm going to mention some of them. So A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, Marielle Heller's film. Then tomorrow night, Hustlers. I'm excited about that.
I've got tickets to that one.
J-Lo is in town. Then you have like a great, beautiful film, My Zoe, directed by Julie Delpy, the French actress that is in platform. So really excited about those three that are coming up. And then like Jojo Rabbit, that's Taika Waititi. We're honoring him.
Oh, lots. There's so much.
I know.
There really is so much. We'll finish with this. We stole you from New York, but you've lived all over the planet, everywhere from, I think, Macau to Mozambique. What do you think of Toronto so far and living here now with you and your family?
I love Toronto. So I moved here 9 months ago, and it was winter time. It was cold, so I was kind of hibernating. But it's been great to get to know the city, get to know the people. Really exciting, a bit different pace than New York, but in a good way.
Good.
And I also feel like there's a lot of creative energy, a lot of new industries. So it feels like a great place to be.
Yeah, it's a good time to be here. And we want to welcome you to Toronto.
Thank
you know
you
how much
so
we
much.
love this festival, and I think you and Mr. Cameron Bailey, you're going to make a great team. So thank you.
Thank you, Dwight. Thank you.
We're in the cafe at Pinewood Studios, and out of this cafe we feed the production staff for all the movies who are shooting here.
Literally catering to Oscar winners. Still ahead, our city is in the middle of a film production boom, and that's having a big impact on our economy. More on that coming up. There were more clashes today between pro-democracy protesters and police in Hong Kong. Around the same time, a group gathered in Toronto to show solidarity with those demonstrators. As Shannon Martin explains, they are hoping to make the situation in Hong Kong an issue in next month's federal election.
Riot police fire rubber bullets at protesters outside a Hong Kong police station. Scenes like this now so familiar. Frustration reaching the streets in downtown Toronto. How does it feel for you to be here watching what's going on over there?
Absolutely awful, disgusting.
This small group wears sunglasses, masks, and hats as a show of unity with the Hong Kong people who fear their government.
The Canadian government has not really responded strongly in the last 3 months. And we would like to raise the awareness of the Canadian to know that they could do more than saying support us.
In addition to demonstrations, an online petition has now been started urging MPs and candidates in the upcoming federal election to take a stronger stand in supporting the people of Hong Kong.
I think the Canadian government can take a firmer approach. Whatever it has been doing, it's not working.
Former MP Olivia Chow is helping launch the petition, along with a group that represents the estimated 300,000 Canadians living in Hong Kong.
There's a strong distrust of the younger generation towards the so-called invisible hand that try to influence the kind of life that we are having. It is the rule of law and also the core values. It's under duress.
8 people have died. Over 1,000 people have been arrested. Many of them have been charged with rioting, which could result in a maximum of 10-year imprisonment. There's no more trust between the Hong Kong government and the Hong Kong people. The support and concrete actions taken by the international community is very vital.
Like those in Hong Kong, they feel the withdrawal of the extradition bill is too little, too late, and they fear more violence. Shannon Martin, CBC News, Toronto.
There's a new chicken joint in town, and while many came out to get a taste of the first Chick-fil-A in the country, others took to the street to protest.
It's more than about deep fried chicken, it's about hateful rhetoric. The fact that an organization like this is able to set up shop in Toronto is worrisome.
We should send a statement that a corporation like that should not be incorporating locally in Canada and then possibly use their values and their capital to influence local politics and local organizations, and that will end up harming our community.
My biggest hope from today is that maybe we just inform some people that were unaware what that $5, $6, $10 that they're doing that they might think not hurt eventually is going to support.
Members of the Cathy family, the owners of the American fast food chain, are known for speaking out against same-sex marriage, and they've also donated millions to anti-LGBTQ groups. But even with the controversy, many came out to Yonge and Bloor to try their famous chicken, some even camping out overnight.
I do not agree with their ideology and the policy of the owners, but I'm not here to support the policy of the owner. I'm here to have a meal that I really enjoy.
I'm not sure if a corporate entity can have a political view. I know it's the ideology of the owner. Obviously, we don't support that stuff and we don't think it's good, but we're just here for some chicken.
I mean, everybody has, is inclined to feel the way they feel and support what they want to support. I'm just here to try chicken because I've never had chicken before, so yeah.
Never had chicken before? Okay, the chain plans to open 15 locations around the GTA in the coming years. If the buzz, excitement, and the caliber of talent at TIFF right now is any indication, we are in a film boom. The number of productions that have made the move to Hollywood North grows year over year, and as Ali Chiasson explains, it moves the needle on the local economy.
If you look 10 years ago, we were at about $600 million, a little bit more than $600 million a year in production volume. 5 years ago, we were at about $1.5 billion, and now we're at $2 billion.
That's what you call a boom.
You stole my line.
As the city's film commissioner, it's Marguerite Pigot's job to sell Toronto to Hollywood producers. And TIFF isn't just a party to celebrate a job well done. The city gets down to business.
It's a way to really accelerate our business case and accelerate production in Toronto for us.
We're in the cafe at Pinewood Studios, and out of this cafe we feed the production staff for all the movies who are shooting here, costume department, accounting, etc.
David Mintz feeds 800 to 1,400 people a day. He's an example of the many businesses benefiting from the film boom.
We're also spending money on produce and meat and seafood and paper goods, and we're renting more vans and we're building more vehicles, and all of this stuff is done locally, so the trickle down is phenomenal.
Let's break it down using the example of one blockbuster that's in theaters now, It Chapter 2. It may be set in spooky small-town Maine, but it was shot in Elora, Hamilton, Ajax, Toronto, and Mississauga. Over $56 million was spent on production. $25.9 million was spent at local businesses during production, and it created 1,800 jobs for local cast and crew. There are other perks as well.
Handmaid's Tale was shooting in a given neighborhood over a period of time, and the neighborhood was really welcoming and really cooperative. And so Handmaid's Tale got in touch with the local councillor to find out, like, what does the neighborhood need? And they ended up refurbishing the gym at the school.
We've been so fortunate. We've catered 3 Oscar-winning shows, and the last one was Shape of Water. We're a very, very small part of it, but just to be part of it, it feels really, really good.
By welcoming the creative community here, and by nourishing it here, we're all part of it.
Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Now, for a lot of TIFF fans, the festival is as much about spotting celebrities as it is about seeing the actual movies. Mr. Will Wong is a veteran celebrity spotter and blogger. He joined our CBC radio show Here and Now out on Festival Street this afternoon and shared some tips with host Jill Deacon.
Who are you most looking forward to seeing at TIFF 2019?
Absolutely. I'm so excited about Meryl Streep. I mean, she was supposed to come for August Osage County a few years ago, but unfortunately she wasn't well, so she canceled at the last minute. So this is her chance to make up for it. She's getting an award at the Tribute Gala Monday. So it's going to be the year of Meryl. I think everyone's just as excited about her. Tom Hanks, he's got that Mr. Rogers biopic, Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. We're stoked about that. Joaquin Phoenix and Joker. He's getting so much Oscars buzz for it. And hopefully this is going to be his year. We're all rooting for him. He's just such a brilliant actor. And Jennifer Lopez, come on, Hustlers. I mean, who doesn't want to see her doing her thing? She's just, we're all about, it's been a while since she's made that movie that could garner critical acclaim. I think this is the one, and we all love a good comeback story. This is the one.
You're just even you've got this dimple in your cheeks and this smile you can't slow down on. What is it that you love? What happens to you when you're that close to somebody whose picture you've seen, whose movies you've watched, whose voice you're familiar with? Like, what is it about the celebrity that really ties your shirt in a knot?
It never gets old for me. I don't know what it is. And it's one thing, I first came to the festival to watch films, and I still do. I still love the films, but it's something I never realized I loved so much until it actually happened to me. And it's just like, and it's a thrill that's never gone away, and I hope it never does. I love doing this. I'm living my dream.
Which celebrities have you seen so far? I mean, it's only a couple days in, but I know the big names are already here.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a bit of a slower start this year, but we've seen some, pretty notable names. Today we saw Heather Graham. Yesterday we saw Ron Howard. Today we saw Ron Howard's daughter, Bryce Dallas Howard, who's making a documentary with her dad about being dads. Yeah, I mean, we've seen Susan Sarandon today. She was so lovely. She was just accommodating anybody who wanted a picture with her. She just would stop even though it was raining, and it was just, it's a ray of sunshine seeing that someone with that much class and tenure, she's still so humble about it.
There are lots of people who aren't professional about this the way you are, but who would always wondering, okay, during TIFF, where do I go? Where are the coffee shops to hang out in? What neighborhoods of restaurants should I be lurking around? I mean, where would you recommend? I know Grinder Coffee is hoping to get Tom Hanks over there, so people could hang out at Grinder Coffee in Leslieville and see if that pulls up. They got Ryan Gosling last year, that's right. So where would you recommend that the amateur celebrity spotter may want to hang out this week?
Well, the telltale signs are look for where the crowd is. You're right in the thick of it here in Entertainment District on King Street. Look for the crowd. TIFF Lightbox, they have the press conferences, which are totally accessible. The talent do come over and say hi after they come out of their cars. They do, sign autographs, take pictures. But the red carpets, that's the surefire place. I mean, we're right at Roy Thompson Hall. If you look outside there, it's pouring rain out, but you've got lots of fans out there queuing still. They're ardent in their support. They're here to see Michael B. Jordan, Brie Larson. I mean, if you walk along the strip, there's a whole bunch of establishments. Things like Cali Love, that's a poke bowl shop, but they also, duels as a TIFF hotspot.
Any place that sells kale is a safe bet to see a Hollywood celebrity. Is that what you're saying?
Smoothies.
Smoothies, indeed. All right, well, it's great to meet you, Will Wong. Have a fun festival. As I say, the beaming smile on your face tells me you already are. Enjoy the rest of it. It's great to have you here.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Jill.
Oh, he's in heaven. And if you're traveling downtown in the next few days, watch out for the annual TIFF road closures. Through to Sunday, the Festival Street Party will close a stretch of King Street west from University Avenue all the way over to Peter. To accommodate riders during the closure, the TTC is diverting its usual King Street cars onto Queen. The 504 King will turn off King Street at Spadina in the west and York Street in the east. And I was with Jill, Nick, out on Festival Street, and yes, the rain was coming down, but that didn't stop the party, buddy.
No, it didn't. And you know what? If you're planning on going out tonight, it's looking even better. We had about 3-4 hours of rain across the GTA, a little bit spotty showers earlier than that. But afterwards, things have cleared out. And in fact, we're not looking at much, if anything, in the way of rainfall coming up over the next few days. What we are watching, though, is some slightly cooler temperatures that are moving into the city. So I'm going to show you the averages here, specifically, though, the average daytime high and low. So about 23 degrees, let's say, and about 11, 12 degrees for the overnight lows. I'll show you the forecast here, and we're going to see the temperatures start to drop just a little bit. In fact, with the rainfall, we did see temperatures fall. So we hit 21 degrees earlier today. It fell. We're at 17 right now, and that's pretty much where we've been hovering since the rainfall had come across the city. That's now sort of pushed off toward the east, and behind it, just some cloud cover, but really not much to speak of in terms of precipitation. It should be dry for tonight. For tomorrow morning, a little bit of cloud cover there, but we're going to see a mix of sun and cloud through the day. However, through the afternoon, slight chance we're going to see some spotty showers. I think this model is overdoing it, but a few spotty showers, not out of the questions. I've got a 30% chance of seeing it. Otherwise, though, you can expect a generally dry day. By Sunday, we're back into the sunshine, or at least mainly sunny skies to a mix of sun and cloud throughout the day on Sunday. But temperatures are actually starting to cool a little bit as we head through the next few days. Tonight, we're looking at overnight lows of about 13, 14 degrees into tomorrow. Pretty much on seasonal, about 22 degrees. Again, there's your slight chance of seeing a few showers. But moving through the next 5 days, temperatures dip a little bit. So we'll talk about it. Sunday, 18 degrees. That's a few degrees below seasonal. 10 degrees for an overnight low, but some areas in the GTA will see single-digit overnight lows. Same story on Monday and Tuesday. Interesting thing, though, a bit of a shift in the weather pattern for next Wednesday. Temperatures at 24 degrees. And I think we're going to be talking about at least a little bit of a humidex for that day.
Coming back. All right. Thanks, Nick.
You bet.
All these people lined up behind me are ready to welcome a major pop star back to Toronto. I'm Angelina King outside of the Rogers Centre, where Shawn Mendes will soon take to the stage in front of a sold-out crowd. I'll have more on why there's so much buzz. That's coming up after the break.
It's a star-studded city this weekend, and it's not just TIFF. Toronto welcomes home a massive pop star. Shawn Mendes rose to fame after being discovered online, and now the Grammy-nominated artist from Pickering is here to perform his first ever stadium show at Rogers Centre. Angelina King joins us from outside there right now, and Angelina, Toronto is ready. Tickets sold out in just minutes, and I've been walking around all day saying, you know, I love it when you call me Senorita. That song, I can't get it out of my head.
Yeah, a lot of people singing that, a lot of other songs. I asked about a lot of favorites, and there was quite a variety. So, like you said, tickets sold out in just minutes. So all of these people in line just for merchandise are some pretty lucky and dedicated fans. There's been so much buzz leading up to tonight's concert. It's called the Homecoming Show. It's the last North American stop on his world tour, and a lot of these people that you're seeing have actually been here since early this afternoon because they were lining up for the Roots by Shawn Mendes pop-up shop, hoping to snag some special edition clothing, and some proceeds from that are going to a new foundation that he recently launched. It's been a busy time for the pop star. He recently just had his first hit single, hit #1 with his rumored girlfriend Camila Cabello, Senorita, as you mentioned. There's been a lot of sightings of the two around Toronto the last week, so that's just really increased the buzz and excitement leading up to tonight's show. So the 21-year-old from Pickering back home, ready to perform in front of a sold-out crowd, more than 50,000 people. I spoke with some pretty excited and dedicated fans. Take a listen to this.
I just love his music so much. It has an amazing message to it.
I just felt like I've been like growing up with him, like as the album's been coming, like through my teenage years.
He is so freaking handsome. My sister loves him more than me. I really love him. I'm gonna cry. Like my mascara is gonna go down my eyes, and I should have wore waterproof mascara.
His music's so good. It's so amazing.
Yeah.
And he has every part. He does every part of the process, from writing to producing, and it's so incredible.
It's so inspiring to like see somebody from the GTA area like make it so far and put themselves out there and just become a huge success.
So you heard me talk a little about his foundation. It's called the Shawn Mendes Foundation. It focuses on young people and gives back to issues that his fans care about, things like mental health issues, education, things like anti-bullying. And so one of the first campaigns he partnered with is Sick Kids here in Toronto. $1 from each ticket tonight goes toward the hospital. And to talk about really celebrating his Canadian roots, he's also teamed up with Tim Hortons. It doesn't get much more Canadian than that. You might have seen his photo on some of your coffee cups from Tim's recently. He also launched this commercial showing him as a young boy at a Tim Hortons in Pickering and then going back to the same location as a huge pop star. So a lot of excitement here tonight, and a lot of people wondering if his rumored girlfriend will join him on stage for the duet. And it is really a hometown hero tonight because Alicia Cara is also opening up for Shawn Mendes. So we're going to head inside, and we'll be back at 11:30 with all the post-show excitement. Dwayne?
Uber talented kid, and it sounds like he's super nice too. Enjoy. Thank you. Now, for the first time, a rock documentary opened the Toronto International Film Festival. We were live on the red carpet last night for Once Were Brothers, the story of Canada's Robbie Robertson and his time with the band. There's a growing list of films about musical legends, and as Deanna Sumanak-Johnson tells us, they don't trust their legacy to just anyone.
I think about Levon, Richard, Rick, and Garth all the time.
When it came to adapting Robbie Robertson's memoir into a documentary, young director Daniel Rohr might not have been an obvious choice, but he believed he was the best.
I will give this everything I have to give. I will die before it's not great.
More importantly, Robertson believed he was the right man for the job, too.
His dedication and his loyalty to doing this as good as he could possibly do it, it was something that just gave me the confidence and feeling of, go get him, kid.
The result of that collaboration is the first Canadian documentary to ever open the Toronto International Film Festival. That speaks to the rising prestige and some would say the golden age of music docs.
But just how many of these docs offer honest, unfiltered views of the stars they profile is another question, since many are now produced by the musicians or their record labels.
the entertainment stuff is very hard.
It's a battle Canadian documentary filmmaker Barry Average knows all too well. He's profiled moguls like Harvey Weinstein and Garth Drabinsky in the past, and his new doc premiering at TIFF is about Canadian music producer David Foster.
If you're a documentary filmmaker and you don't have the wherewithal to deal with the egos and the machinations of dealing with talent management, then you're dead. Then pick another topic.
The young director of Once Were Brothers says the vision was his, despite Robertson's record label providing some of the financing.
What Robbie's life really embodies is that we have the agency and power in our own lives to invent ourselves, to be like, this is who I want to be.
And it looks like some of that vision rubbed off on Daniel Rohr, who went from being a fan to the filmmaker. Deanna Sumanag-Johnson, CBC News, Toronto.
There's been a rash of illnesses and even a handful of deaths in the U.S. that doctors there are attributing to vaping. Now, experts believe they've zeroed in on the chemical culprit. That's next. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control says people should stop vaping until the cause of a growing outbreak of serious respiratory illness is determined. At least 3 deaths and 450 cases of vaping-related illness have now been identified across the United States. Researchers say there are clinical similarities in lung problems for all those cases. One study suggests the culprit might be a vitamin E acetate solvent used in some vaping products, but the CDC believes the cause is likely multiple compounds. Many who fell ill had been vaping THC, the chemical that makes marijuana intoxicating, and most were teens. Okay, what's black and white, a little gray, and a little tipsy? Some drunk raccoons are the talk of a town outside Ottawa. So what's getting these little guys stumbling around the Stittsville neighborhood? We'll tell you coming up.
much. How we doing? If they can teach me to dance, they can teach anybody to dance.
Nice and hot, just like salsa.
There have been reports of obnoxious drunks stumbling around Ottawa. They are behaving badly and passing out in broad daylight. These wild sights are rare, but naturally say it's only natural. Robin Miller explains.
Hey.
You could say this little guy is drunk as a skunk. Caught on camera stumbling around Stittsville, Julie Fong's husband saw the raccoon just behind their house, and it looked like he'd had one too many.
He said it was sort of stumbling along, just looking completely off, as sort of somebody who may have had a few extra libations would be walking along as.
And what did your kids think? Later that day, Fong says a bylaw officer came to their door. Apparently, someone had called about the animal who, by that point, was sleeping it off.
So there was a drunk raccoon under your deck? There was a drunk raccoon under our deck.
No, the raccoons haven't been visiting the local bar. They've more likely been overindulging on fermented fruit, according to one Ottawa naturalist. He didn't examine the raccoons, but says there's an abundance of fruit falling from trees this year.
And it's possible that some of the fruit is fermenting under the heat, and that these guys are getting a bit tipsy by eating that fermenting fruit.
It was laying just over in that area.
Susan Mayo also saw an alleged inebriate snoozing in her neighbor's backyard.
It didn't even move when I came close to it. And then it would sort of like just kind of sit up, didn't move its back legs at all, and then flop over and literally look like it was going back to sleep.
The animal stayed mostly still for hours until the homeowners called 311 and bylaw officers came to pick it up.
He couldn't really move. He was dragging his legs. He was wobbling, having a hard time standing up. You could tell something was wrong with him for sure.
Now, the city says residents with concerns can call 311 and a vet will assess what, if any, treatment is required. Because in this case, coffee might not be the answer. Robin Miller, CBC News, Ottawa.
A little guy sleep it off. Yeah, I like a little apple cider, too.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? That is literally the opposite of my encounters with these guys.
Yeah, exactly.
I go to take the garbage out and it pops
and
up
they
from the
attack.
garbage. Yeah, I know. And where are these guys in
Put
my
a little
neighborhood?
apple cider out
Yeah,
for the mark.
exactly. That'll solve the problem.
Tiffin Town, Hollywood
Yeah.
North. Not really looking like Hollywood North out there, too.
Oh, it's a little gray out there, a little bit of rainfall as well, but things are clearing up. Tonight, just some cloud cover, but even that's going to start to move out. Tomorrow, mix of sun and cloud, 22 degrees, and we've got about a 30% chance of seeing a few spotty showers. A little bit of a cool down, but you know what? Even the West Coast, it's a little cool.
It's all right.
There you go.
It happens.
Yeah.
It never rains in Southern California, but it rains here. Yeah. That's our show for tonight. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you back here Monday. Have a great weekend. Enjoy TIFF. Get out and take in some films if you can.